August 3rd, 2012, I want to talk about something that scares people, is very frightening, a lot of shame. I want to talk about masturbation. I masturbated every day from about 16 to 34. Not a long time, probably 5-10 minutes a day. Sometimes with pornography, filmed, or sometimes with magazines. But generally speaking, I've got such a vivid imagination, I didn't need pornography. And I didn't masturbate 5 hours a day or 5 times a day like a lot of people that I know. But when I got to be 34, I took a searching and fearless moral inventory of myself, and I said, well, what is it about my sex life that I'm not happy with? And I was cheating on my first wife, and I was masturbating every day. So I felt bad about both those things. So I stopped cheating on my first wife, and that was hard. It took me about 4.5 months. I went back and forth. I told the girl, oh, I can't see you. And then I call her up, oh, I can't see you. And I call her. Drove the poor girl crazy. After about 4 months, stopped all that stuff. But the masturbation was a lot harder. I went 6 days. And that was as far as I could go. And I thought, well, I just didn't try hard enough. So I tried and went 6 days again, and I couldn't do it again. And I realized that I was powerless, that I could not stop masturbating. And then I had to get some help. And it took me 20 months of trying to stop before I could stop. And 22 years ago, the 26th of June, 22 years ago, I stopped masturbating. And it's been very helpful for me. What I want to talk about is how masturbation affects other things. One of the things that the S recoveries believe is that sex is a barometer of a relationship. So if the sex is bad, probably the relationship is bad. The sex reflects the relationship. So if I'm in a relationship and things are bad because I'm not communicating with my partner, she's not communicating with me, or something, she's cheating on me or I'm cheating on her, something's wrong. We're not talking about money, we're not talking about our feelings, something's wrong with the relationship, then this shows up in the sex life. And so if I have masturbation as an option, and I want to be sexual, then I just go masturbate, and I don't have to look at a woman and say, something's wrong with our relationship. I need to talk about it. I need to talk about how I feel because something's not working. And so what happens if I have masturbation as an option is I stay in relationships that I need to get out of. It keeps me a slave to bad relationships. And I couldn't see that when I was masturbating. I had no idea that masturbation was keeping me in bad relationships. That's one thing. The second thing is, when I want to be sexual with a woman, you can't just go up to a woman. Men can just go up to each other and just have sex. You can't do that with a straight woman. You've got to do some talking. You've got to do something to make you feel safe and loved and cared about. You can't just go up and say, I'd like to have sex with you. Guys, you know what I'm talking about. That ain't going to work. And so I have to communicate with somebody and connect with a woman somehow so that I can be sexual. And when I have masturbation as an option and I want to be sexual, I'll just say, I'll go masturbate, and I don't have to go up to a woman and connect with her and relate to her and commit to her, whatever she may need. And so what happens is masturbation keeps me out of relationships I need to be in. So it keeps me out of relationships I need to be in. It keeps me in relationships I need to be out of. And that's an extremely valuable tool to me because I like being sexual. For me, it needs to have a couple of things. It needs to be about feelings first and commitment. That's what I need. But having that, I will do that with great exuberance and great aplomb. So I don't want anything to interfere with that. The second thing about masturbation is sex is kind of like money, in my view. So let's say you have $10,000. You can spend $10,000 and invest it in Apple stock in the stock market, or you can spend $10,000 going to the Four Seasons in Hawaii. But you can't do the same thing with you can't take $10,000 and do both things. You have to choose. And the same thing is true about sex. So there's a finite amount of sexual energy. Now, it may just happen to be a great deal, but it's still finite. And the question is, do I want to expend that by myself, or do I want to share that with my partner? And in my view, in relationship to my partner, it would be more loving and more unselfish and more giving to share that sexual energy with her than it would be to spend it by myself. So that's another good reason for me to not masturbate. The final thing about masturbation is my need for esteem of myself, my esteem in myself. At the end of the day, if I haven't masturbated, I feel good about myself. I feel high self-esteem. And that's good for me. Just that piece alone, leaving out the relationships, just not inter, but intra-personal, that's an incredibly valuable tool. I feel very self-loved by not doing that. So that's another reason. That's all I got to say about masturbation today.